X-ROC250 comes in this carry case that has spaces for everything you need. But to keep it reasonably sized, you have to take the props off when you use the 3-bladed and just the front two props when you use the 2-bladed. This is a good, safe way to transport your quad and the radio. If you're like most of the rest of the quad world, you're going to have way too much stuff to fit it all in here. The X-ROC250 comes fully assembled, so I had to remove the top plate so we could show you where all the stuff is underneath it. This top plate shows that they weren't trying to save money when they wanted to make this thing stiff. From the factory, they have everything mounted on the bottom plate, and that certainly does keep it out of harm's way when these things start crashing. I moved the video transmitter to the top plate, and I'll show you why I did that later. And yes, that is the main battery plug, but don't worry about it not being a Dean's. This quad uses 2204-2300 kV motors and 12 amp ESCs. I like that the CC3D board is enclosed and protected from moisture. I use Dean's connectors on all my batteries, so it's nice to see that the folks at Diamond Hobby have a converter. This saves you a bunch of soldering and cutting wires. This is the 200 milliwatt video transmitter, and I haven't had a bit of problem with it other than where it's located. If you need to change channels, you have to remove the top plate. It comes with these stick-type antennas, but I might be putting my egg beaters on just to see if there's any difference. The USB port for hooking the controller to the OpenPilot software is on the back of the controller. This makes it a little difficult to get the cable hooked up, but you can do it as long as the battery's not in. The 6-channel FlySky receiver comes already installed and it's bound to the transmitter. And ahead of the receiver, the Sony video camera is mounted very well. It may not be bulletproof, but it is protected pretty well the way they have this set up. And you can see that the video camera is pointed up for when you're going fast, and you can adjust this somewhat when you remove the top plate. I have stress tested the arms a few times already, and so far they seem very strong. But if you do manage to break an arm, they cost $3.99, and every time I've looked, they've had them in stock at Diamond Hobby. And you can see that the ESCs are inside the arms and well protected. And the X-ROC has probably the most common sense foot design I've ever seen on a quad. These do keep it off the ground, but you're not going to be chasing them every time they snap off. The standard battery position for the 1300 milliamp packs is under the top plate at the rear. I fly a lot of 2200 milliamp packs, so I'm going to put mine on the top plate. The first time you plug a battery in, the brightness of the LEDs can be a little surprising. You can make the taillight blink different ways and shut it off altogether if you want to, using a switch right in the middle of it on the back. To change frequencies, you have to adjust these dip switches underneath the top plate. They give you a chart to go with, but the only way to do this is with the top plate taken off where that video transmitter is located. I moved my video transmitter to the top plate, and we'll show you that in a bit later. And this is the card you get that shows you the different frequencies and the configurations of the dip switches. I'm not real sure what this pad on the bottom of the quad is for, unless they don't want you scratching up the furniture when you land on that. At any rate, in the time that I've been flying the X-ROC250, that pad hasn't given me any trouble. And here you can see a little better how protected the ESC wires are. And now we get to the dirty pictures, because I've already been thrashing the X-ROC250 in the backyard some. I put this clip in because I wanted to show you how I've got mine set up. Most of my battery packs are 2200 milliamp, and the X-ROC250 handles them on top like this easily. I haven't noticed any real change in how it flies with the bigger battery on it. And here's where I put my video transmitter, because I need to get at it, because like a lot of you, we change frequencies quite a bit when we're racing. Before I get to the flying field, I'll add a plastic tie wrap to help out the double-sided foam tape underneath it. The FlySky 6-channel radio that comes with this outfit is rather basic and should be for what we're doing. The gimbals feel pretty nice, and they come with adjustable sticks. You have to install these ends and adjust the length for how you want it, but they give you a good grip on the sticks. This is the only 3-way switch on the radio, so we use that for our flight modes. So far, I don't use the rest of the switches. If you're at all familiar with the modern computerized radios, there's nothing here that's going to be real surprising to you. Well, that's not quite right, because there is something that did surprise me a whole lot about this radio. It doesn't have a timer function for some reason. But since most of the phones we can't go anywhere without have a timer in it, I just use that. The FlySky radio is powered by 4 AA batteries, and you can skip the NICADs or anything else because there's no charging port built in. I've been flying this thing pretty hard for a few days now, and I still haven't run out of the batteries, so you don't have to replace them real often apparently. You also get this 2S 3S LiPo battery charger. It uses the balance lead on the batteries to actually do the charging. And that means that it's a slow charger and you only charge one pack at a time. But I haven't seen any self-respecting FP racers that didn't show up with a bag full of batteries, so you may not be worrying about this one too much. I wasn't about to go out in the middle of the night and try flying this thing just so you could see the headlights, so I waited till it was actually pretty dim out, but the camera makes it look much brighter than it was. But I don't need much of an excuse to step outside and whiz something around the backyard. And using a very basic setup, the X-ROC250 flies nicely. It's not often that I can fly something brand new in the backyard and not have to go get it out of one of the trees. It's really hard to tell in such a small area, but the X-ROC250 seems pretty nimble. So naturally we had to take it out and try it on my official backyard quad testing course. Keep in mind that this is video recorded through my Fat Shark Dominator version 3 headset. The video you get recording through the headset doesn't look as good as it does while actually watching it in the headset. And this really was the first time I tried flying the X-ROC250 around anything other than just puttering in the middle of the yard. So we're going to take it easy for a lap or two and get used to this. It's not real touchy, but it's agile, and it's easy to get carried away if you try and rush yourself too soon. A backyard course like this is great for getting some stick time and getting used to the ROCHOBBY's quad. But to really see what it can do, we need to go out to the regular flying field. We need some space to let this quad get up to speed and to really see what the handling is like. Learning to fly a quad like this at speed takes a little getting used to, but we're going to get better before the end of the day, and we'll get a bunch worse as you'll see near the end. One of the first things you need to get used to is locating the gates and then flying through them instead of just by them somewhere. And then we can work on turning around and finding them again to go the other way. Something else we have to get used to is trying to maintain a low altitude as we go from one gate to another. That turns out to be harder to do when you're going slow. Later on, when I built up some speed, this got a little bit easier. As the day progressed, I was able to carry a little more speed as I went through the gates. And of course, as I got going a little faster, I started thinking I actually knew how to do this. But these quadcopters have a way of bringing you back down to earth when you think you're getting this handled. Because the camera in the ROCHOBBY's quad is tilted up a little bit, you have a better field of view forward when you're at speed, or at this speed. Later you can adjust the angle to better fit the speed that you're actually racing at. This turned out to be my last flight of the day because I started getting cocky. I know this looks too slow to actually be cocky, but I was, believe me. Right in here's where I thought my new skill set would let me just turn around and blast through this gate and come back to the pits. But no. I left this in to show you just how tough the ROCHOBBY's quad is. This is like the 4th or 5th time I've done this today. And all we got out of the whole thing is one of the motor arms is cracked. That's it. And that's about a $4 repair. So if you're looking for a ready-to-fly FPV quad, you need to take a look at the ROCHOBBY's offerings. This may not be the ultimate quad in the universe, but it's plenty fast for beginners and the price is right. And aside from being tough, the parts are priced right and seem to be available all the time.